Welcome to the Money Talks Simple podcast, the show that breaks down money, wealth, and the world simply. I'm your host, Josh, and I'm here with Nora.
Hey everyone.
Today we're tackling something that sounds, well, huge. The title of this episode is How the Iran War Could Decide Elections in 2026. And I know what you're thinking. This sounds more like a foreign policy class than a money podcast.
Right, it seems really disconnected from our everyday lives. But, the whole point of this show is to connect the dots, and this is a big one. It's not just about tanks and treaties, it's about the price of gas and groceries.
Exactly. It all comes down to economic pressure. So when a major conflict like this happens, it creates these massive ripples across the entire global economy. We're talking inflation, high energy costs, slower growth, all that stuff.
And when economies get squeezed, what happens, Josh?
Well, people get unhappy, and they tend to blame the people in charge. They demand a change. It's a story as old as time, really.
It really is. So let's break down the how. How does a war in Iran actually make things more expensive for, say, someone living in Ohio or Osaka?
It starts with oil. It almost always starts with oil, doesn't it? A huge amount of the world's oil travels through a tiny choke point right near Iran called the Strait of Hormuz.
The Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, so if that gets disrupted, or even if people just think it might get disrupted, the price of oil skyrockets.
And it's not a theoretical risk. The strait is incredibly narrow, making it vulnerable. Any military action there, or even the threat of it, can cause panic in the markets. And it's not just about the supply itself. It's like the insurance costs for the oil tankers go up. The shipping routes get longer and more expensive to avoid the conflict zone. It's this whole chain reaction.
It's a huge ripple effect. And oil is, well, it's in everything. It's the fuel for the trucks that deliver your food, the plastic in your phone case, the energy needed to run factories. So when oil gets more expensive,
Everything gets more expensive.
yep, and that's inflation. It's a direct hit to the cost of living for everyday people. And that's where this whole thing becomes political.
Totally, because most voters, they're not making decisions based on complex foreign policy. They're looking at their bank accounts. They're thinking, can I afford my rent this month? Is my grocery bill insane? It's those kitchen table issues.
And 2026 is a massive year for elections. I was looking it up, something like over 40 countries are holding major elections.
Wow, over 40?
Yeah, and a lot of them are going to be feeling this economic pain. Think about places like the US, Israel, even Hungary. All have elections, and all are sensitive to these global economic shifts.
So if you're the party in power, the incumbent, and suddenly everyone's struggling to pay their bills, it doesn't really matter if the root cause is thousands of miles away. Voters are going to look at you and say, this isn't working.
You got it. They're going to want change. We see it over and over. Economic instability leads to political instability. People vote for new leadership hoping for a different outcome.
So, I guess the main takeaway here, the simple version, is that the Iran war isn't just a regional conflict. It's a global economic event with the power to, basically reshape political power across the world.
That's the perfect way to put it. What happens in the Strait of Hormuz doesn't stay in the Strait of Hormuz. It shows up at the ballot box in dozens of countries 2 years later. It's this incredible demonstration of how interconnected our world really is.
It's fascinating and a little bit scary how fragile it all is.
It is. So next time you hear about events happening far away, it's worth thinking about the hidden economic strings that connect right back to your wallet and maybe even your vote.
Okay, I see the connection, but I have to push back a little. It seems a bit too neat, a bit deterministic. Are we saying that voters are just economic robots? Surely local politics, candidate personalities, and other social issues still play a huge role. Can a single global event really override all of that?
And that's a fantastic point, Nora. And you're absolutely right. It's not a simple one-to-one equation. It's not like high gas prices equal a guaranteed change in government. It's more that this economic pressure acts as a massive amplifier for existing dissatisfaction.
So it's like a stress test for governments. If a government is already on shaky ground with its voters because of domestic issues, a major external economic shock like this can be the final push that leads to a change in leadership. It exposes underlying weaknesses.
Exactly. A stress test is the perfect analogy. Think of it like a building's foundation. If the foundation is already cracked, say due to internal political scandals or social unrest, a big earthquake, which in this case is the economic shock from the war, is far more likely to cause a collapse. Stable governments with popular support might wobble, but they are more likely to withstand it.
That makes sense. So could you give a concrete example? How might this play out in the United States midterm elections versus, say, a parliamentary election in Hungary, which you mentioned earlier? Their political and economic situations are very different.
Great question. In the US, you'd likely see the opposition party laser focus on gas prices and inflation in their campaign ads. They'd blame the incumbent administration's foreign policy, whether it's fair or not. It becomes a simple, powerful message. Are you better off now than you were before? And for many, the answer would be no. In Hungary, where the economy is more vulnerable to energy price shocks from the East, the government might use the crisis to justify more nationalistic or protectionist policies, framing it as a defense of the Hungarian way of life against global instability. Same economic cause, very different political effects.
Wow, that really puts it into perspective. It's not just about the numbers on the news, it's about how those numbers get turned into political stories and how those stories can, completely change a country's direction.
Exactly. The economy is the canvas, but the politicians paint the picture.
Deep. Okay, well, my brain is officially full. I think that's a perfect place to wrap it up.
Agreed. It's a lot to take in.
Thanks for tuning in. Join us next time as we unpack another idea you think you know. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next.